Hello everyone, I'm Kathy Drew from Gina's Bernina Sewing Center, and today we're going to talk about cleaning your Bernina 880 Plus machine. I'm getting ready to do some sewing today and some videos for you all, so I definitely want to start out with a clean machine. Now, one thing I want to remind all of you to do is make sure that at the end of the day, you brush out and clean out your machine and get it ready for the next day of sewing, because any lint or buildup in the machine, your sensor is going to notice that. And a lot of people keep wondering why their bobbin sensor message keeps popping up on their screen and stops their sewing, and it can't really specify exactly what it's seeing in the bobbin area. But if you know that it's sewing okay up to that point, then it could just be that it is seeing a buildup of lint or a loose thread somewhere down in the bobbin area that it is wanting to warn you about, as it could cause you to have a problem later on in your sewing. So I have just always made it a habit at the end of a big sewing day or at the beginning of the next big sewing day that I go in the bobbin area and clean out all the lint and buildup that's down there, and it saves you a lot of frustration. Now that we have these sensors in our machines, they're down there for a reason, to help us, not to aggravate us. So don't be alarmed if it goes off. Just do your troubleshooting by going in there and check everything out and make sure it's going okay. So I've got it zoomed in on the screen for you, because if you need a little guidance, if your 880 is new to you, or you just want to make sure that you're doing every single thing that you should in the cleaning process, your machine has some videos and directions for how to properly clean your machine. Now, where you're going to find those is in the settings icon that's represented by the little set of gears that you see. And if we tap those gears, and I'm kind of off to the side, so I'm hoping I don't bump the camera, you're going to see several categories pop up, and the one that we want to look in for these videos is the one that has a picture of the sewing machine on it. So we're going to tap that icon. Once you're in there, you also have some different categories as well, and the one that we're going to work with today will be in the tools icon group, and so that's represented by that little wrench that you see. So we'll just tap the little wrench. Now here we go. There are more icons here as well. This is where you can actually recalibrate your buttonhole foot if it's not working properly for you. So there are a lot of features built into this machine that allow you to make corrections and prevent you from having to take your machine to your service center to do that. You'll notice here's one that's got like a little cleaning brush on it, and down on the bottom left there's an oil can putting in a drop of oil. So let's start out first off with the cleaning, and you're going to have two categories there. If you look very closely, you're going to see that one of them has a brush with your scissors, which represents your thread cutter. And then on the left hand side, you have another one for cleaning, and I believe that's going to be for our needle threader, our fully automatic needle threader, because if that gets a little bit of lint buildup in it as well, it cannot thread your needle any longer. So let's first of all, we're going to go into the one for our thread cutter. Now you're going to need to read all of this if you've never looked at this before. A lot of people, their eyes just pass all the black writing and head in straight to the blue, which is a link. But what you want to make sure that you do is remove your presser foot, take the needle out, and you're going to also need to remove your throat plate cover. And in a minute, we're going to go through this whole process, and I will actually be doing those things. So this is just a little overview of what we're going to be doing. Once you've done that, those three things, you will actually touch this blue link on the screen. Now, after you touch it, you're going to hear a little mechanical action, but then you'll see that your thread cutter is moved out so that you can get to it and use your tweezers to pull out any thread bits or do any additional cleaning that you might need to do. Now you can scroll up and down through these instructions by using the stitch length or even the width dial on your screen and just turning it. Once you've cleaned out your thread cutter, you are going to touch the move the thread catcher in link, and it will retract the thread cutter and put it back into its correct position. So this is a great tool to have built into your machine so that you can get some step-by-step guiding on what to do. And then of course in step 4 it goes through putting the throat plate cover back on and the needle and presser foot, but I'm sure you all know to do that. So that's how easy it is to go through cleaning your thread catcher, and it's an important item on your machine to keep clean because it can also hold the thread tail and maybe your sensor might see it and stop the sewing process. Now let's go back into our tools. We'll go right back into this again, and this time we're going to go over to our needle threader instructions. So once again, you want to have that needle out and a presser foot off, and then you're going to touch your needle threader button. And when you do that, when you're in this particular screen, what the machine will do for you when you touch your needle threader button when you're in this screen is it is going to lower down your needle threader so that you can clean it, remove any lint, thread tails, anything that you might see in there that will interrupt the operation of your needle threader. That's how easy it is to do, and we want to keep that clean as well. So probably what you'll want to do is take that foot off and needle off and throat plate cover off and all those things and just do a thorough 3-step cleaning: the thread catcher, the needle threader, and then we're going to do the bobbin area as well. And when I get through with this on-screen explanation, I'm going to reposition the camera and we are going to go through those 3 cleaning processes so you can see me do that on my own machine. All right, so that's how easy it is. Just remember where to go and look at these instructions. We'll go back by using the breadcrumb, and this time we're going to go into the oiling area. And you can see you have a wonderful video that shows you the first thing to do, of course, is to clean it out with your little brush. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you about that little horseshoe shaped item. That's a bobbin stop spring, and I'll talk to you about that as well when we get into my machine. Once you've done that, it says to squeeze a drop of oil, and it's going to zoom in here in just a second and let you see exactly where you should put that drop of oil. See how it tells you to rotate the flywheel if you need to, and it shows you all the way back right where that point is on that hook. And actually, when you are in this screen and you open up your bobbin case door and do all that, it is going to automatically rotate that silver portion of your hook system out of the way for you so you can see that. So you're not going to have to turn the flywheel. It's going to automatically rotate it for you. So those are the 3 instructions that are built into your machine. Of course, you've got them in your sewing machine manual, but you can leave this up while you're actually doing your cleaning and be able to guide yourself through it. Isn't that wonderful? All right, let me reposition this camera and we're going to do some cleanup on my 880. Okay, I hope I didn't zoom in too close, but I sewed quite a bit yesterday. So I know that my needle threader and so forth is probably going to be pretty dirty. So I wanted to zoom in on it as close as I could to show you guys how quickly you can get a buildup in these areas that if you don't clean it out, it can start giving you difficulty with your machine. Now, when we have all these wonderful features added to the machines, it doesn't mean that they're going to be more problematic. It just means that in gratitude for having these features, we may have to do a little bit extra to take good care of them. And that is so important to stress to you 8 series owners. This is a fabulous machine. but you have to help it along its way. All right, so I am going to lower down my needle threader so we can check it out and see how dirty it is today. So I'm using the features on the screen that we just looked at, and once we go in there, I am going to, the instructions will tell me once you've removed your needle to press your needle threader button, and that's what I'm getting ready to do. Let me pull that camera up just a little bit. See how it's already highlighted? It's already lit up for you, because when you do these cleanings from the screen of your machine, then these things are going to happen automatically for you. All right, so I'm going to press the needle threader button. The needle threader is going to come down, swing around, and then it's going to lock into position. Oh, I hope I can zoom in on that dirty place on that needle threader. Let's see if I can get in close enough. Whoop, back a little bit. Oh, looky there. Look, look, look. Now this, all this dirt that I hope you can see right here is located actually where the wire is that holds the thread that pushes it through from the back of the needle. So you can imagine if you leave that in there and never clean it out, eventually you're going to find that your needle threader won't thread your needle anymore. Now, I'll see if I can get it out with my brush, because we want to be very gentle when we do this. If you move the needle threader out of this position when you're cleaning it, then it becomes out of line. And as a safety feature, your machine will not sew until it's put back into the correct lined up position. And you may have to take it to your service technician to do that for you. So I'm going to very gently go in with my brush and see if I can get a hold of him. Oh, and usually where this little wire is that holds your thread, it's a little bit difficult to dislodge that. So you might have to do a little bit of brushing and then very gently come in with your tweezers and pull it out. And I don't know if you can see, but look at that. And that's not all of it. And that's one day of sewing. Oh, here comes some more. All of this was around the little wire of my needle threader. Every bit of this. And that's one day of good hard sewing, because I was making a quilt yesterday. So you have length that comes from your fabric. You have length that comes from your thread. And all of that can build up around that little wire. And then your needle threader can't thread your needle. So we want to keep that little boy working perfectly. Then I just take my brush and let me zoom back just a little. Okay, and this area here, I like to take the brush through there, because this is where we lay our thread when we're doing our threading. And then just gently brush any and all lint away from the needle threader. And doing that will keep your needle threader working perfectly. Just remember to be very gentle when you're doing your brushing. Do not force this mechanism into any other position than the machine already has it in for you. We don't want to get it out of line. And I think that looks much better. There's no oiling or anything that you do to your needle threader. And when you're finished and totally satisfied with how clean your needle threader is, then you're going to simply press the needle threader button again, and your needle threader will go back into the correct position and ready to be used. That's how simple that was. Now let's go down and check out our thread cutter. And we are going to set it up to actually walk us through cleaning our thread cutter. So the instructions tell us, of course, to remove the foot, remove the needle, and definitely we need to remove our throat plate cover. So to do that, you want to press on the engraved circular portion in the back right-hand corner. Just push down with your finger, trying to keep your finger on the throat plate cover, not on the base of the machine. push down right there and then lift up in the front. And I generally will turn it over, and with a soft cloth, I clean off the bottom of my throat plate cover of any lint and residue as well. At this point, we just take our brush and begin to clean away what we see automatically. And I do have some lint in there. And you can actually reach in if you want to, use your tweezers or anything if you want to, and lift up those feed dogs. If you see something underneath them, you can certainly do that. This area, of course, it does get quite dirty. Everything, oh, look at there. I love cleaning it. Okay, now we want to extend our thread cutter so that we can make sure that it's free of any thread tails. So on the screen, you will look for the blue link, and let me very gently just see if I can turn the camera so you can see what it is I'm talking about. There we go. See where it says move the thread catcher out? All right, that's what I'm going to touch, but I want you to see the action that takes place. So I'm going to touch move the thread catcher out with my stylus. And you can see it has extended the thread cutter out to where we can do any maintenance of cleaning or looking for any little thread tails. And I try to keep mine pretty clean, so I don't see any thread tails other than that's my bobbin thread sticking up out of there. So I don't see any thread tails that could be hung. Lots of times you'll see them right in here, and you can just take your tweezers and pull those out and get them out of your way, because we don't want that sensor on our bobbin case store to see that and think that we've got a problem going on and stop you from sewing. So that sensor sees a lot. I'm going to go back in there with my brush. I see a little bit of build up right back in there, and it certainly doesn't hurt to brush all that out. And anything like this that you do brush out is going to go down into the bottom of the machine, and when we clean that bobbin area, you're going to be able to get that out. Okay, now before we finish, we want to make sure that we go back to the screen and touch the link that says move the thread cutter in. All right, now I'm going to do that. And he's back in position, and we are ready to move on to the bobbin area. Now, I think I mentioned that when you go into the settings screen in the tools screen and you do your cleaning by following those steps listed, when we open our bobbin case store so that I can remove my bobbin, of course, and get in there to do my cleaning, you're going to notice that the silver portion of our hook system is going to rotate to the right much further. I think it rotates to the right, but it's going to move and position itself in a place that makes it easier for us to do our oiling. And I really appreciate that. So let's open that bobbin case door and you can watch what happens. Okay, so see, this is all open on this right hand side, and it's going to make it much easier for us to put our oil where the machine wants us to place it. So let's get that hook out, or get that bobbin out, I'm sorry. And I'm kind of funny about when I take out my bobbin, I like to make sure, just like on the old machines, I would always make sure that I remove my bobbin from the bobbin case in the direction that it would sew, rather than pulling it out backward. So if I pull my bobbin thread out right now, I will pulling it out in a reverse direction. And you're going to feel that's a little bit difficult to pull, and it can sometimes shred your thread off into this area. And that's not a good thing. It can create some difficulty for you. So what I generally do is I just take a pair of scissors and clip the thread close to the bobbin. If I can see, my camera's in my way. There we go. And then I reach to the opposite end, not the one that I cut, And this way, when I'm removing that thread, you're going to see it comes out very easily. There is no problem. You don't feel that resistance to it, and you're not shredding off any remnants into that vital area of our hook system. Now this little guy that everybody worries about, he is there to stop your bobbin. When your machine quits sewing, when you're sewing at full speed, this is what makes the bobbin stop and prevents it from continuing to turn and unwind thread into the bobbin area. Now it comes out, and generally when you take your machine in for your yearly service, they will put a new one in for you just to make sure that it works okay. But I have in the past actually not threaded my machine correctly up in the needle area because I always get in a hurry sometimes. And this guy will get tangled with some bobbin thread or needle thread and be pulled out. So to put it back in, always remember that the arched part of this little horseshoe shaped spring points to the right. And also you're going to notice that when you look at it at this angle, you can see that that horseshoe shaped piece is actually higher than that outer ring, and that is by design. So you want to make sure when you put it back in that this little guy is facing you, just like this. And we're going to slip him into position, making sure there are little places in there that hold him. You'll hear a little snap when you get him in the correct position. And make sure if that happens that you go all the way around that outer edge, making sure that you have a smooth connection in there. You want it to be nice and flat. Okay, now we're just going to start cleaning. Now I usually use a longer artist brush for when I want to get back into the machine, and I didn't bring it over for the video, so let me see if I've got any goop under there. Yep, you'll always find some goop, and if you use your thread cutter a lot, you'll find those thread tails down in there. So we want to clean all around this pretty boy. Get him nice and clean. Check for any lint, and because that lint will make your machine sound noisy if it gets into your hook area. I sometimes will turn my hook down a little just so I can get back in there. See all that lint that's in there? Clean machine sounds good and works great. There we go. And that should make it a little bit easier for you to see where we're going to place that drop of oil. Now, let me rotate that up a little bit, so maybe there might be a better shot for you. All right, because we were in the setup screen, this rotated out of our way, this large silver portion rotated out of our way, and you can actually see this little finger that extends out off the hook. And at the very end of that finger is where you want to put the tip of your oil bottle. So I'm going to just stick him right in there and give it a slight squeeze and give it some oil, and my job is finished. I'm going to lift my lid up. You're going to hear a lot of rotation there because it is rotated out of the normal position. And I'm going to close out of my cleaning screen, and I am going to rotate that. Oop, I see a little piece right there. Come here, buddy. There we go. And now you can see when it normally brings your hook system out, you have this solid metal piece. See it right there? So it's in the way for us to do our oiling. So when you're in the sewing screen, and I'll go back in there one more time. I'm going to put my bobbin. Oh, this is another thing. See this little tail right here? I'm sorry, I keep rambling on. This is not the thread tail that we're actually going to thread into tension with. But see how it sticks out? Do not leave those. If you have one of those, you need to cut it off. Because guess what? Your sensor will see that and it will say trouble. And if it gets between the bobbin and the hook of the machine, then the bobbin doesn't turn correctly. It's jerky when it turns, and it can create some issues. So you want to make sure that you clip those off, pop them in, slide him into that one finger, because I'm just going to be doing basic sewing. Can you see that slit on the side? I pull him down with my index finger, give it a little pop, a little bit of a jerk to make sure he falls into tension, and then up into my thread cutter. Close the door, and we are ready to sew. So I hope that this helped you guys. I love the 8 series, and I hope that some of these videos that we do, incorporating them in the techniques, will help those of you that own them, that have commented on our YouTube channel and other places that you need help with your 8 series. So get in there, clean that machine up, and enjoy all those fabulous features that you've got. Those security features and the bobbin sensors, they're in there to help you, not frustrate you. And once you understand that, and remember that you have to help by looking at what that bobbin sensor is trying to tell you, you have to help by finding that problem, you're going to do great with this machine. So enjoy it. It's a fabulous piece of equipment. All right, guys, you take care, and if you have any questions, you know where to leave them in the comments. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.